For 3 decades, he wasn't just a mogul. He was an icon, a symbol of untouchable success. Sean "Diddy" Combs was the man who bottled hip-hop swagger and sold it to the world for $1 billion. He built an empire of music, fashion, and liquor on one simple, powerful idea: that he was the living embodiment of the American dream. But in a shockingly fast collapse, that dream turned into a nightmare. The empire, once thought to be indestructible, started showing fatal cracks in its foundation. This is the definitive timeline of how Sean Combs's world unraveled, exposing the secrets that brought a kingdom to its knees. March 25, 2024. This wasn't just another sunny afternoon in the lavish Holmby Hills of Los Angeles or on Miami's hyper-exclusive Star Island. On this day, the gates to Sean Combs' kingdoms were breached. Federal agents from Homeland Security Investigations descended on his sprawling mansions in a massive bi-coastal raid. News helicopters swarmed overhead, broadcasting stunning images to the entire world. Federal officers, armed and armored, methodically searching the very properties that once hosted the biggest celebrities on the planet. This wasn't a simple inquiry. It was a clear show of force, part of an ongoing federal investigation into sex trafficking allegations, led by the powerful U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York. Combs's sons, Justin and Christian, were briefly detained outside the L.A. home before being released. While Combs himself wasn't arrested that day, and his lawyer later blasted the raids as a gross overuse of military-level force, the message couldn't have been clearer. The walls were closing in. This was just the explosive opening chapter of a story that would lead to a federal trial to decide his fate. But how did it come to this? How did the man who had everything find himself on the verge of losing it all? To understand the fall, you first have to understand the incredible heights from which he fell. Before he was Diddy, he was just Sean Combs, a driven, ambitious intern at Uptown Records. But he wasn't going to stay an intern for long. In 1993, he launched Bad Boy Records, and with it, a new dynasty in hip-hop was born. He didn't just find artists. He created superstars. His first major act, the notorious B.I.G., would become one of the most revered rappers in history. His voice the soundtrack for a generation. Combs wasn't just behind the mixing board. He was in front of the camera, crafting an image of extravagant success. After the tragic death of Biggie, Combs stepped into the spotlight himself with his 1997 debut album. No Way Out. It was a commercial juggernaut, a blend of grief and bravado that captured the public's imagination and took over the Billboard charts. But the music was only the beginning. Sean Combs was a master of branding. He knew that his greatest product was himself. That understanding gave birth to Sean John, a fashion line that turned streetwear into high fashion, even earning him the prestigious Menswear Designer of the Year award in 2004. His legendary white parties in the Hamptons were the ultimate symbol of his cultural power, a place where celebrity, style, and influence all came together. Then came the masterstroke, a 50-50 profit-sharing deal with spirits giant Diageo for a little-known brand called Cîroc Vodka. Combs didn't just market the vodka. He made it synonymous with a lifestyle of aspirational luxury. The deal was revolutionary, making him hundreds of millions and cementing his status as a business genius. He launched the Revolt TV network, invested in startups, and launched the Vote or Die campaign to mobilize young voters. At his peak, his net worth was estimated at nearly $1 billion. He had built an empire that seemed untouchable, a testament to his relentless hustle. But beneath the shiny surface of success, a much darker story was waiting to be told. The first tremor that shook Combs's empire hit on November 16, 2023. His former long-term partner and singer, Cassie Ventura, filed a bombshell lawsuit. In it, she accused Combs of a decade of horrific abuse, including rape, physical violence, and sex trafficking. The complaint painted a chilling picture of a man who allegedly used his immense power to control and terrorize her. Combs's legal team shot back, calling the allegations offensive and outrageous. Just one day after the suit was filed, the two announced they had reached a settlement for an undisclosed amount, But the dam had broken. In the weeks that followed, more lawsuits poured in from other women with disturbingly similar allegations of sexual assault and abuse, some dating back decades. By February 2024, a male music producer, Rodney Lil Rod Jones, filed his own suit, alleging he was sexually harassed and assaulted by Combs while working on his latest album. The whispers that had trailed Combs for years were now a roar. Then came the March 25th raids, a signal that this was now a full-blown criminal matter. And just as the public was processing the images of federal agents at his homes, the next and perhaps most damning piece of evidence dropped. On May 17, 2024, CNN aired shocking hotel surveillance footage from 2016. The silent, grainy video showed exactly what Cassie Ventura had alleged in her lawsuit. Sean Combs, wearing only a towel, chasing her down a hotel hallway. He grabs her, throws her to the ground, and brutally kicks her. He then tries to drag her back down the corridor. The footage was visceral and undeniable. 2 days later, Combs posted a video apology, calling his actions inexcusable and saying he was truly sorry and disgusted with himself. The world watched and waited for the government's next move. It came on September 16, 2024. Sean Combs was arrested by Homeland Security investigators at a hotel in Manhattan. The next day, a federal indictment was unsealed. The charges were staggering: racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, and transportation to engage in prostitution. The indictment accused him of using his business empire as a criminal enterprise to coerce women into sexual acts. He pleaded not guilty, but in a critical decision, a judge denied him bail, citing concerns about potential witness intimidation. Sean Combs, the man who once sat on top of the world, was now a federal inmate, awaiting the trial that would determine his future. The trial of the United States versus Sean Combs began on May 5, 2025, in a lower Manhattan federal court. Over 7 weeks, it became one of the most watched celebrity trials in memory. Prosecutors called over 30 witnesses, painting a picture of a man who they said used his fame, wealth, and violence to manipulate and exploit women. The prosecution's case centered on events they called freak-offs or hotel nights, alleging Combs forced women into drug-fueled sexual performances with paid sex workers, which he would often record. 2 key witnesses were his ex-girlfriends, Cassie Ventura and another woman who testified under the pseudonym Jane. Both gave graphic testimony, telling the jury Combs pressured them into degrading sexual encounters with strangers. The defense fought back hard. They argued the events were part of a consensual, if unconventional, lifestyle, and that the prosecution was unfairly twisting a high-flying life into a criminal conspiracy. Combs himself chose not to take the stand. On July 2, 2025, the jury returned with its verdict. On the most serious charges, racketeering conspiracy and sex trafficking, the jury found Sean Combs not guilty. He had avoided a potential life sentence, but it was not a full acquittal. The jury found him guilty on 2 counts of transportation for the purposes of prostitution, a violation of the Federal Mann Act. They concluded he had arranged for his former girlfriends to travel across state lines with the intent for them to engage in prostitution. Though cleared of running a criminal enterprise, Sean Combs was now a convicted felon, and the judge ordered him to remain behind bars until his sentencing. On October 3, 2025, Sean Combs returned to the Manhattan courtroom for the final chapter of his criminal case. The man who once commanded stages and boardrooms stood before Judge Aaron Subramanian to learn his sentence. Prosecutors asked for more than 11 years, arguing Combs was unrepentant. His defense team argued for just 14 months, which, with time served, would have meant his imminent release. In a letter to the judge, Combs expressed remorse, writing, "Because of my conduct, I have lost all of my business. I have lost my career." Before delivering the sentence, Judge Subramanian spoke directly to Combs. "A history of good works can't wash away the record in this case," he said, adding, "You abused the power and control that you had over the lives of women you professed to love dearly." He then delivered the sentence. 50 months, just over 4 years, in federal prison. He was also ordered to pay a $500,000 fine and will have 5 years of supervised release. The judge acknowledged the victims who testified, stating plainly, "We heard you." The sentence was the legal conclusion, but the fallout for his empire was already catastrophic. The brands that once lined up for his association now ran for the exits. Diageo, his partner in the lucrative Cîroc and DeLeon brands, terminated their relationship. The Sean John clothing line was pulled from Macy's. He was forced to step down as chairman of Revolt, the media company he founded, and later sold his stake. The Harlem charter school he helped create cut all ties. His fortune, once estimated near $1 billion, plummeted. The man whose brand was synonymous with success was now toxic. His reputation was in shambles. So how did Sean Diddy Combs lose it all? It wasn't one bad decision or a single lawsuit. It was the slow, steady erosion of an empire built on an image of untouchable power. The period from the first major lawsuit to the federal raids was simply the moment the facade finally crumbled, revealing the rot underneath. The jury may have acquitted him of being a racketeer, but they convicted him of crimes rooted in the exploitation of women. In the end, his kingdom wasn't brought down by a business rival or a market crash. It was brought down by credible accusations of abuse and a world that was no longer willing to look the other way. And while Sean Combs will one day walk out of prison, the question remains, what, if anything, will be left of his kingdom when he does? Subscribe Gossip Season for more updates.